Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the National Motor Museum here at Beaulieu, and we're here for an invasion of griffins. So the first vehicle here at Simply Vauxhall today, probably one of the most well-known vehicles in television, of course, due to its history on a certain TV show called Top Gear. It's the reasonably priced car. So Top Gear had a few reasonably priced cars. They had a Suzuki Diana, a Chevrolet Lacetti, a Kia C''D, as they called it, and a Vauxhall Astra as well. They've also had a Toyota in later years, but of the Clarkson, Hammond and May years, this I think was the last one. It's been signed by the Ben Collins, also known as the Stig. Top Gear Stars reasonably priced car. There you go, it says on there, and says, yes, it's the real one. I didn't think the Star and the reasonably priced cars were allowed to be sold on after being on Top Gear, but I don't think this one actually was on the show for too long. So that might have been a bit of an exception, especially given it's got a proper seat in the front. This one's a bucket on the passenger side. I'm not actually sure if this belongs to the museum or not, because of course they've got the world of Top Gear just over the back, or whether they go to the BBC and say, hey, can we borrow a car for an event? And they say, yeah, sure. I'm sure there's lots of reasons, but reasonably priced car. Of course, before we move on, can't really miss all the names on the bonnet of all the celebrities that have driven it and posted a time. 2005 Vauxhall Astra Convertible, styling done by Bertoni. Very good looking vehicle, at least in my opinion. 5-spoke alloy wheels. Quite a nice dashboard, very simple but very plainly laid out. Not a lot of legroom in the back. I know I've had passenger rides in these in the past. Really not a lot of legroom or headroom when the roof is up, but perfect for a really hot sunny day like today. An intruder has made its way into the arena. An Opel Vectra. And of course, over here in the UK, these are sold as the Vauxhall Vectra. An Opel is just literally Vauxhall with a different badge on it. Both owned by General Motors at this particular period in time. Of course, these days Vauxhall and Opel both owned by Peugeot Group, PSA, or I guess generally Stellantis Group now. It's a nice colour. It's got Vauxhall badges on the centre cap, so there we go, that'll do. Vauxhall. This is the final generation of Vauxhall Zafira when under General Motors design. Quite a good looking design vehicle, obviously 7 seats, very practical. Again, another vehicle I've had plenty of passenger rides in. Vauxhalls are very prominent vehicles in my childhood, throughout family and friends owning them. And one of my friends actually, their parents did have one of these, and the previous generation to that as well. Lots of people I knew had the previous generation of the Zafira. That's because they were reasonably priced and very, very practical, especially with the 7 seats. New York Police Department style Vauxhall Astra, with number plate saying the Feds. Just before these leave, there's a Vauxhall Centaur next to a Vauxhall Calibre. The Calibre being built in Germany and I think also Finland. Is it a Centaur? Yeah, it looks like it. Don't think I've ever seen one of those in the flesh before. Back to the Astra then. Gotta say, the livery they've got on the side here, a certain Mr. Pink with a sauna could probably relate to this. Maybe that's what he should do, because the Sana's actually got paint on it, and this looks like it's done in vinyl. Very well done, I have to admit. But maybe if he wants to re-add it later on, maybe he should add it in vinyl instead of paint. Leave comments down below. Besides not actually having any relation at all in either development or styling of the old Yugo Sana from the 90s, I think this is a really well designed car, looks really nice. Again, Vauxhall have done a good job with it. I like the current model of Astra, of course, sharing much of its platform with Peugeot vehicles. But I like this style as well. It's a good looking car, and I like the livery. They've done something different with it, and it looks really nice. So, good job person who owns this car. Especially with all the cones out front as well, and of course, as I've already mentioned, that plate on the front that says the Feds. This is the Vauxhall Omega. Quite a rare car now. It's only very much overshadowed in sales, at least, by the Vauxhall Vectra. But look how tiny the wheels are. They're like little settee casters. This is a 2.5 litre CD, and it is also for sale. So again, as with all of these things, this could be yours. Next, the Omega Vauxhall Cavalier LX, late 80s model. This, pretty sure my dad had one of these as a company car back in the late 80s, maybe even the early 90s. Sporty style seats, they look like Recaros, or at least in design. The gear knob, and this is very familiar. My mum used to have a Astra Mark III, and because it was obviously cheap to share parts between different models, that indicator was on it. The gear knob, as I've already mentioned, the handbrake, probably quite a few switches in there, but I can't quite see because the lighting on the windows today, it is extremely warm in the sun. Door handles look somewhat familiar as well, but that's beside the point. It's funny things that seeing older cars brings back to the memories, isn't it? I have little spotlights on the front end. This car is also for sale, so this one could be yours. This is probably the one I'd walk away with out of the two. No offense to the Omega. They were very popular police cars and sales rep cars back in the 90s. But yeah, that's about 1,500. This is 2,750 to a good home. I'd love to give this a home. Don't have any space for it at the minute. Vauxhall Corsa Convertible as well. These are extremely rare these days, in a rather lovely metallic green, T-Reg, so late 90s. They have a car for sale, 1996 Voxel Calibre they've got on here. 8-valve ceramic blue, 120,000 miles, excellent condition, so that could be yours, I guess. Lovely interior, love 90s and 80s interior patterns on seats. They're always very creative and very colourful. Maybe not in the initial pattern, but especially in the designs. So that's quite fun and funky. Notice the foam over the rear roll hoop. Corsa Cabrio 1.4. 1.4, actually quite a large engine for a car of this size, and of course weight as well. 3-spoke alloy wheels, they will never not be cool. I quite like this. I'm never really a fan of these Corsas growing up, but they're starting to grow on me, especially as time goes on. Look, another non-Griffin. It's an Opel version. This will be the Mark I Vauxhall Astra, but this of course is very much Opel, left-hand drive, so probably imported from possibly Germany, of course, where Opel is primarily based. Loving the wheels on this. I don't think I've ever seen a wheel in that sort of style before, but I like it. Of course, this isn't an Astra, being the Opel version, it's the Cadet, it's 1.3. I don't think Opel started calling the Cadets the Astra until the Mark III generation of Astra, which there is actually an example over there, which we'll have a look at in a minute. Was something very familiar, I'm sure, to many of the regular channel viewers. But yeah, interesting look on this car. It's very boxy, very much a car of the time. Tiny little fuel cap. I like the colour, it really stands out. More cars need to be yellow or orange, especially orange. Orange is the best colour for a car. Just have a look at the engine bay. Actually not a huge amount of room, but loads of accessibility for the light, at least on what we would see in the UK as the driver's side. Battery space. The one thing I will say about Vauxhall is, especially of this era up to maybe the early 2000s, they certainly leave a lot of room in the engine bay for work, which is absolutely perfect from the sort of home mechanics POV. But yeah, I really like this one. The one I like even more, Vauxhall Chevette HSR, recently featured on the channel. Plastic fantastic, of course. If you haven't seen that video where you had a look at the Chevette, feel free to go and check that out. Tell the story of the Chevette HSR. So plastic front end, bonnet, boot lid, save weight. Massively powerful little things. 135 horsepower standard, and then with tuning can go over 200 or so. Crazy little things. Looks like semi-slick tyres on there. And this one's all graphicked up as well. So I've just been chatting with the owner of this car, and I guess rather unsurprisingly, he knows the owner of the HSR I actually had a look at not too long ago, Terry. The chap who owns this called Sheldon. Very good friend Terry's actually, and he was saying how this particular car, before he had it, was actually stuck in a tree for a while, in a hedge in a field, something like that. They pulled it out using Terry's old Vauxhall Frontera, so very much a Vauxhall man, and they slowly rebuilt it over time. That was in about 2006 he got this particular vehicle. And look at it now.
Try and keep it as tight as you can.
Brilliant little cars. This is still 2.3. Apparently the two cars, Terry's one and this one, drive incredibly differently. This one has got less torque than the 2.6 that Terry's got, but quite a lot of fun when you get it into the rev range, I've been told. But yeah, just one look at that interior. Glorious thing. And of course, the graphics on the back. Adore that. Goodbye Astra Mark III GSI. Very rare car now. Not too many left. Of course, the awards show here has happened already. That Astra just there in front of us, that one. Other cars that were in it were a Calibre that was owned by a YouTuber called Our Tim, who's usually here presenting for this kind of day, the Simply event. And I guess third or other runner-up was a 1927 Vauxhall. I'm not quite sure of the model myself.
It was quite a long name.
It was quite a long name, but yeah, 1927 Vauxhall, that was the other runner-up. But yes, as everyone's leaving, that gives us not too many cars to look at left, but you got a selection of Vauxhall Cavalier Mark IIIs. These are pre-facelift, a couple there which are post-facelift, which personally I prefer. No offence to owners of the pre-facelifted models. A Vectra, which of course replaced the Cavalier here in the UK. I mean, that model replaced the Cavalier in other countries, but these particular cars were known as Vectras on the continent, did you know? Another little green Corsa, Cavalier Mark III, L-Reg, so 1993, 94-ish I think. A Vauxhall Insignia, quite like those. They're also sold in the US as Buicks, which I now know thanks to contacts in the United States. And also another Cavalier, I think that's a Mark II generation. Lined up in their own little section, the VXR Owners Club. Of course, quite a few models here because VXR being Vauxhall Sporting Division. Got quite a few models to select. They're mainly Astras here, of the Mark, I think this is 5 generation I want to say. We've also got a Corsa at the back, Corsa at the front, and a car that in many places in the world would be known as the Holden, but here in the UK it's known as the Vauxhall VXR8, 420 horsepower. Blimey. Well, look what I found. A rather gorgeous Mark III Astra. This particular one is the facelifted version. That's on a P-Reg B 1997. But I love these things. I've got so many memories with the Mark III Astra. My mum used to have one, as I mentioned on several videos in the past. Hers was a pre-facelift. The face of it looked like this, but this is post-facelift, but they've shoved a pre-facelift front end on it. Basically the grille, the lights as well. So indicators would have been different. Those are later ones. But yeah, you forget how small these are. They're absolutely tiny. Oh, also another memory, just come back. Remember we were driving one day, lost the aerial in a hedge, so we just fitted one from a very, very old TV we had in Nan's loft. But yeah, so many memories with these cars. Would quite like to have kept the Astra Mark III, but unfortunately it was lost to the scrappage scheme. But never mind. It was just the sign of the times. We weren't ever going to get £2,000 for it, and the Astra of that generation was still quite popular back then, but obviously less is seen these days. But yeah, seeing this brought back a lot of memories, and I like it. Located in their own little section over here, Vauxhall Insignia Misfits. Pretty sure we've seen this one at previous shows. But yes, if you're interested in Vauxhall Insignias, or you have one yourself and you want to find a group to join, look no further. Vauxhall Insignia Misfits on Facebook. Quite like that little tiger liveried one. That's quite fun. The VXR sounds nice as well. Over here then we've got two Vauxhall Tigres. This one is the second generation, that one obviously being first. This one hard top, this one soft top. These are of course based on the Vauxhall Corsa. In fact, I think the interior is either identical or very, very similar to the Corsa. But yeah, they're designed to be a bit more, I guess, funky, a bit more unconventional compared to the standard Corsa. It's good looking little car, these. I like the earlier model better myself, although I think the lines on that are sharper, but 90s car appeals a little bit more to me. We just have a look at the interior of this. Very simple, very plain. Indicator stalks. Again, another thing I found that's shared in the Vauxhall Astra Mark III. Little ski hatch down there. But yeah, I think these particular cars, especially the early ones, aged extremely well. There's a VXR8 goes past. The early one, 420 horsepower we mentioned. But yeah, these I think are already classics, especially with the way the rear window curves round. Imagine the engineering just to get the glass to curve round like that. Still styling tweaks like that that people who are not interested in cars miss, but that really interests me in a really weird and wonderful way. But yes, I really like the earlier version of this. I like that as well, but to a lesser extent. Vauxhall Calibre, this one is for sale, 104,000 miles. Asking £900 for it. Ooh. Obviously the front end could do with a bit of paint. It's currently got quite a lot of primer on it, and the roof could do with a bit of work as well. But I can imagine this would be quite a lot of fun to somebody who's interested in doing a project like this. The Calibre based on the Vectra A platform, I believe. Meant to be a little coupe hatchback. Yeah, I really like these. So imagine if you had a garage back in the late 90s of a Calibre and a Tigra. There's a sight to behold. Because every time we touch, I get this feeling. This is a Vauxhall Carlton, not the Lotus version, but the 3-litre injection CDX Estate. It's automatic, 1990 registration, Vauxhall main dealer, ex-demo, purchased in Westminster blue. And what a lovely blue it is too. It's very dark. It's almost like a midnighty blue from the MG cars. Good looking car. These, of course, the Carlton, especially the Lotus version, very famous cars for their performance, and of course the 40 RA story, which, if you don't know about that, look it up on the internet. It's a really interesting tale of basically the Vauxhall Lotus Carlton. But yeah, this is the estate version, a little bit different, a little bit more, I guess, in comparison, tame, but still a very fun, very quick performance estate nonetheless. Next to the Carlton, Opel Monza, in fact a trio of them. Except this is the Vauxhall version, called the Royale. I'm pretty sure there's another word to it. Let's have a quick look on the back. Royale Coupe, 3-litre 24 valve. Quite a lot of power in that then. Let's have a quick look on the interior. I like the little clock in the dashboard. Another Opel Monza. It's quite interesting seeing the difference between the two. I mean, the dashboard, this has got a digital clock, whereas that's got one that's a little bit more old-fashioned. And this looks to be a Vauxhall Carlton. Yes, earlier version of it. 21st September 2022 is when the MOT is up on this particular car. It is for sale. This could be yours, £2,000. Automatic, runs and drives very well, 2-litre petrol. But I can imagine that's quite quick, to say the least. I've got to say, didn't really know much about the Vauxhall brand beforehand. There's certainly a lot of cars here I found myself more interested in than I realised. It's nice to see. Wouldn't usually have come to the Vauxhall show here, but we don't have anything particularly on this weekend that's local, and we got other obligations to stay near to home. So it's quite nice to go to see a scene that I haven't really been to that much. This here is the Vauxhall Cavalier 2000 GLS. 40 years of the Cavalier and Chevette were celebrated in 2015. Naturally, they've got a windscreen heat cover. Lovely looking old car, of course, in typically 70s shade of brown. I like the styling of Vauxhalls of this era. This, the Chevette, they all look superb. One of the peaks of Vauxhall design, I have to say, although I do like the 90s Calibre as well. I've got to say, for all the shtick that the Vectra gets, the styling of the bonnet leading up and round to the door mirror actually looks really quite nicely done, especially in hindsight with the way some modern vehicles are designed a bit more, I guess, tamely, more conservatively. Vauxhall Zafira Mark I, built to take on offerings such as the Renault Espace, also provided in a VXR version. Little snowman. Though we all hope for weather like that at the minute, it's getting a bit hot here. But yeah, these cars incredibly popular, arguably one of the best 7-seaters around when it was brand new, and arguably still is one of the best today. Got lots of practicality in there when the seats aren't up, and when they are up, 7 people can fit in and still get a reasonable amount of stuff in the back. Although obviously if you are considering taking 7 people on holiday for a week in one of these, you probably want to consider either a roof box or a trailer or something. But yeah, yet another car I've had plenty of rides to and from places in, because they were so popular. Loads of people had them. It's amazing, isn't it, really, that we've looked at all these Vauxhalls today, and many of them have been in top condition, many of them performance cars owned by enthusiasts such as the DXR Vectra, and obviously the second Vectra there, but in estate form. The Opel Kadett, also known as Vauxhall Astra, Insignia VXR, and obviously then you've got the classics like the Cavalier just there, the Monza, the Royale, Coupe, etc, etc. And then you've got more daily type runners like this Insignia here. But one thing that really does stand out to many people who've seen Vauxhalls is the horrific paint fade that many of them in red suffer over the years, especially 90s models. Red paint really wasn't a strong point for Vauxhall back then, and you can see quite a lot of fade on this one, but the car is still lovely nonetheless. So if the owner is watching this, no offence to you, love the car, but unfortunately Vauxhall red paint, really not the best quality thing in the world. But when it is at top performance, I guess, the red paint really does shine off nicely. You can see it on the plastic part here, but on the metal it's lost its shine a little bit. So hopefully one day, given that these are now getting quite rare and also more enthusiast owned, hopefully one day that can all be brought back up, and once again this will be a very lovely coloured Vauxhall Tigre. And finally we're on to the Vauxhall Viva Owners Club. This particular Viva has got a trailer made out of the back half of a Viva, quite creatively. Have a look in the interior, plenty of bears on the windscreen. Ooh, the smell is glorious, viewers. Yeah, just have a look underneath the bonnet of this car. Very fancy and very well presented. Liking the blue on this Viva though. This is a 2300, as it says just down there, but I knew that anyway, just saying. Lovely wheels. And this one, Viva HA from 1966, and I have to say, obviously being someone who's watched Top Gear countless times, from this angle it does look quite a lot like Oliver the Opel Kadett. Obviously not the only Opel Kadett to ever exist, but probably the most recognisable one to many. But yeah, very simple, but very well engineered little cars these. We're sat under the tree in the shade, and that can only mean one thing.
It's very hot.
It's very hot, but it also means that the show is over. People are leaving in their numbers now.
Yep.
And there's not really a lot left to look at that we haven't already looked at. So it's been quite nice to come down here and look at Simply Vauxhall. It's not really a scene that I've explored too much on the channel, really.
No.
Nor in life generally. But since documenting all these videos where we go to car shows, yeah, Vauxhall not really a brand I've looked too much into other than recently with the new Astra and the Chevette. But it's a scene I'm quite interested in, I have to say. There's certainly a lot of cars here that interested me, more than I expected. I don't know about you.
Yeah, there are some that I kind of think are generally quite interesting, but it's probably not a brand I would necessarily reach for.
Okay. Oh, that's Genevieve's opinion.
There you go. Nothing against them though, just I prefer other things, which I think is fair.
Yeah, definitely. Well, they do like the Adam.
I do like the Adam, yeah. It was a toss-up between the Adam and the Fiat 500 when I was first looking for cars, so...
Yeah, so there we go, one Vauxhall appeals at least.
One Vauxhall.
But yeah, we've both got a bit of a history looking at Vauxhalls, I guess, and I guess a slight deep down interest in them.
Yeah, and there will definitely be more Vauxhall content on the channel as well, with
Yes, definitely.
some other people that we know that reviewing cars and stuff in the future, when we get some spare time.
But yes, anyway, I think we should bring this show to a close, so thank you for watching Simply Vauxhall. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to like. If you've been displaying your car here and you like what we do, don't forget to obviously comment down below, let us know which was your car here. And of course, as well, if you weren't here, comment down below, let us know which was your favourite car here. And if you want to see more car-based content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for, well, plenty more of it.
Yep.
And also the bell notification, that's very, very important. But yeah, I've been Jake.
I've been Genevieve.
Thanks for watching, see you in the next one. Until then, farewell.